Oh, he evaporated? He was shredded from my 2? The shred doesn't last that long though, right? Does the shred last 4 seconds? That's pretty crazy. That duality blade is hot garbage, man. And it's for proc items, not... Right? Am I wrong to say it's for proc items, not for chin size? Or chin size or proc, or am I dumb? I think it only affects like Heartseeker and yeah. I don't think is Oboe and chin size considered a proc?
Ally has been slain.
If it's chin size and Oboe as well, yeah, it might actually be interesting.
Something sharp?
But if it's just Heartseeker and Crusher, I don't think it's ever gonna get built. It's on hit effect, right? Yeah. Alright, that's what I figured. Okay, so it's not gonna work on that. People already don't build Crusher, right? Because it's not in the meta build. Therefore, you're gonna build Duality to proc Heartseeker again. But the damage loss, because you're not going an actual pen item, or an item that has like a good proc, just makes the item literally unbuildable. Like, you don't care about the 15% attack speed it has when you're an ability-based hunter. That is a useless stat. So you give up a pen item, right? Because every item in an ability-based build has pen on it. Pen item is some kind of damage proc. For an item that has no pen, a wasted stat in attack speed, just to proc Heartseeker again every 5 seconds, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it just common sense wise, that item has no place.
Okay, ward here, bro.
Just like Stormseeker.
On my way.
You could literally look at Stormseeker and say this item is literally dog shit. It will never be built. You could literally just look at it and say that.
Your middle tower
Same thing with this item. Same thing with this item. You can look at it, think about it for 5 seconds, and realize it's a dog shit item. Like, you don't need stats to realize how bad the item is. Especially with Stormseeker.
Free from your grasp. Starlight scatter.
There's no thinking required. You just use like a slight common sense, right? You look at the meta builds that we currently have, and then you look at the new item, right? And you say, okay, what role does this item fulfill? Right? And the answer is usually nothing. With all these new, how many new items have high-res designed for hunters? And how many items get built? There's Crimson Claw, never gets built. There's Stormseeker, there's Griffin Wing, and then there's gonna be Duality. 4 items that will never be built. They make a new item for a tank, and it's fucking the most OP item imaginable, aka Equinox. Right now, when you look at the meta hunter builds, there's only one item that you can actually really replace, and that's Devil Gloves. So they need to make an item that competes with Devil Gloves that's decent. Right? Crimson Claw is not one of them, because Crimson Claw is more expensive but does less damage. Make it make sense. And then secondly, whatchamacallit? There's crit damage and there's yellow damage as our main damage builds. So you got to make an item that either complements those builds or replaces those type of like damage types, right? Or the only other item you can replace is Devos. No, I don't want it as a glyph. Why do you want to build Lifesteal as a glyph? That's too late. You just build Devil Gloves. The way Stormseeker is designed, it's designed It's like equivalent to like a starter item. Like it has 2 stats only. With a passive that gives you more of 1 stat. Right? It's like basically a starter item.
Chase the enemy.
That's a good idea, Tyrone. That's an excellent idea, Tyrone, for sure. I like that. Good thinking. That would open up a lot of item possibilities. I agree, Vernio. I think that's definitely a concern of theirs. Just look at Duality, right? Look at Duality. It's designed for Power Pen Hunters. Okay, fine. Let's look at the Power Pen Hunter meta build. What is it? Transcendence. Jotuns. Fail Not. Those right there, that's a flat pen item, 20% pen. A percent pen item with crit, 20% pen. 20% CDR, right? Those 2 items give you 40% CDR, a lot of penetration, right? And damage. Okay, those 2 items are done. What's next? Titan's Bane, because it gives you 40% pen on your ability, an extra 40% pen on your ability, right? Plus just a regular 20% pen all around, and 55 power. And then you have Heartseeker, which is your main damage with the proc, right? What item that I just said is Duality is going to replace? Like, which item is it going to replace? The 20% pen item? The 2 items that give you flat pen and 40% CDR? Or the item that's Heartseeker, that's the only proc item you get? You know what I mean? It's that item is not even close to any of the items I just mentioned. So they give you an item that's unbuildable. That makes no sense design-wise. Because it can't compete. It doesn't even compete. It's not like it's a trade-off, right? It's not like, oh, I'm losing 10% pen, but I'm gaining that same amount in raw damage, right? So I do less damage to tanks, but more damage to squishies. Something like that, where there's a give and take. There's not even a give and take. There's just a take, and you're just weaker. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you lose on X, but you gain in Y. To an almost equivalent amount, right? It's not even close. Same thing with Stormseeker. Stormseeker is even worse case than Duality. Stormseeker shouldn't even have been released. 4 new hunter items this year, and none of them are buildable. See this item right here? The closest one to being buildable is Crimson Claw. But the problem with Crimson Claw is that it's like less damage for like 95% of the game. I think it's a slightly more damage or the same damage as Devos in the super late game. But it doesn't matter because it's the item you get first. So you need to get value from it. But then they give you an item that you're supposed to build first, but they make it 150 gold more expensive, which means that it takes you 2 extra waves to get this item, because if you're splitting with the support, it's going to take you 2 extra waves to get this item. So the guy with Devos is going to back 2 waves earlier, okay? And you're going to have to stay in lane 2 waves longer, which means he can bully you. Once he gets back, he knows you're still waiting 1 more wave to get the item. So he could just play up on you because he has his power spike already. Poke you out, force you to stay in lane longer, make you miss creeps, perhaps get the neutrals, or even invade your own purple. And then, by that time, he's already going to have like 15 stacks, right? He's already going to be able to compete with the damage of Crimson Claw. And then he's just going to be stronger than you once it's stacked by a lot. He's going to outdamage you by like 30 in auto. So this item, if this item was the same price as Devos, you can argue that it's buildable. Right? Because even though Devos is going to be stronger for most of the game, you get it at the same time, and then that means you can use that immediate power spike to gain an advantage over the guy that's scaling over you. But because they make it so expensive, you lose any advantage you would have gained from this item. Because you have to sit in lane for 2 waves longer. You know what I'm saying? If this item was 2400, instant, you can choose between which one and buy either one. And you don't have to change anything stat-wise on this item. But they make it 2 waves more expensive than Devos. So it's unbuildable. I would love for them to give Griffin Ring 20% lifesteal. And then I would build it every game. over Devos. Give it 20% lifesteal. Make it 2,400 gold like Devos, which is 200 more gold than it is now.
Select your god.
Perfect item.